resources and loss of tens of thousands of lives, as Mishra and Urza's machines revolutionize battle, becoming exceedingly destructive in their capacity. To each brother, more power is conferred, their genius and leadership essential to combat one another. Standing in opposition is the third path, an assemblage of wizards, mystics, and pacifists beleaguered by the conflict, who've recently rediscovered magic and the essence of mana. Their archaeologists happen upon an inscrutable artifact, a bowl whose surface is etched with ancient glyphs and whose aura exudes foreboding. The Golgothian Silex is a construct of unknown origin, but realized to possess immeasurable destruction, as its inscription reads, "Wipe the land clear, bring the ending, topple the empires to bring a fresh start. Call the end, fill with memories of the land." As the brothers' war rages, Yawgmoth, the dark god of Phyrexia, sends through the unsealed portal at Koilos his demonic praetor Gix to sow discord, weaken Teresiere, and prepare it for invasion. In Mishra, Gix finds the weakness of ambition, fear, and greed, and through these emotions seeks to undo him. The war radicalizes Mishra's worst qualities, and his court of advisors is soon infiltrated by Gix's minions, who whisper Phyrexian lies to erode both mind and spirit. As Mishra ages, his body weakens. Fear of death and concomitant promise of immortality espoused by the Gixians drive the Phylagi ruler to undergo the first steps of Phyrexianization. He is increasingly replaced by metal and oil, his soul twisted beyond redemption. The final stages of the brothers' war see a continent denuded of all resources, barren and lifeless. A final confrontation unfolds on Argoth, an island off the coast recently discovered and replete with much-needed riches. Both Mishra and Urza themselves lead their war hosts, and as conflict ensues, the Phyrexian Gix arrives with an expeditionary force to destroy the weakened armies. Death and mayhem engulf Argoth. An inevitable meeting brings the two brothers face to face for the first time in years, and horror dawns upon Urza. Mishra is no longer himself. The man he once was has been replaced by artifice, empowered only by lingering hatred. It's a pang Urza's heart cannot bear, witnessed in cards like Gruesome Realization and Retaliation. The later reading, a foul metallic stench, clogged Urza's senses. It was then he knew his brother was no more. With the Golgothian Silex in his possession, Urza completes the invocation that unleashes devastation, a moment that reverberates through the entire multiverse. The Silex blast destroys all of Argoth. In a stroke, the brothers' war ends as both armies and Gix's Phyrexians are eviscerated. Energy from the blast roils across Dominaria and shifts abruptly the plane itself. Unforeseen consequences of the Silex blast loom. The Shard of 12 Worlds begins to form a metaphysical barrier that encapsulates 12 planes and greatly isolates them from the rest of the multiverse. This once again severs Yawgmoth's connection to Dominaria, and a slow but unstoppable ice age descends upon the plane that will consume much in frost. As for Urza, a latent planeswalker spark, housed within the united Might and Weak Stone, ignites, and the man whose eyes are replaced by the Power Stones ascends to the status of planeswalker. Consumed by remorse and seeking absolution, Urza now initiates a millennia-long fight against Phyrexia in atonement for his sins. In war's aftermath, survivors of now devastated Teresiere shun all manner of artifice, technology, magic, and progress out of fear. A dark age of superstition reigns as cultures and civilizations regress, the genius of the brothers forgotten to time. Winters lengthen, the land remains fallow. This period of time, roughly 170 AR, sees the lens shift from Teresiere to the remote island of Sarpedia, wherein 5 empires vie for dominance, each affiliated with a race and a color of manhood. The red-aligned mountain dwarves are overrun by invading orcs and goblins. The elves of Havenwood fall to creatures of their own invention when thalids multiply beyond containment. The merfolk of Oldelia are caught off guard by legions of hominids that have dispersed from the far north as plummeting temperatures change ocean currents. The Ebon Legion, too, are defeated by their own hooves following the creation by Endric Sar of thralls and their subsequent rebellion. It's here that Tev Loneglade assumes the mantle of Tevish Zot, a draconic planeswalker interested only in causing pain and torment. Acacia, the last bastion of the fallen empires, is destroyed by Zot as he sends forth legions of orcs and goblins. Thus, Sarpedia is left to ruin as masterless thrall and mindless thalid roam. As magecraft and artifice are more aggressively persecuted by Dark Age dogma, several havens have established in secret to house mages and scholars. Two of these are the Conclave of Mages and Latnam. Notably, a descendant of Urza and Mishra rose to prominence. Joda, in his studies and wanderings, happens upon a fountain of youth that bestows significant longevity on man. He navigates with cunning the intrigues surrounding the Conclave, including the feud between Lord If and Marseille. With near immortality, Joda will continue to be a force in Dominaria's history, and his learning grants him mastery over all 5 colors of mana. By the year 600 AR, Dominaria is fully consumed by the Ice Age, cold hunger familiar to all, and the Shard of the 12 Worlds has now completely coalesced. This traps planeswalkers and other creatures of the Blind Eternities within, and it's this claustrophobic imprisonment that acts as impetus for many events as walkers attempt dangerous plots to escape. We must briefly embark from the Shard of 12 Worlds and visit the far-flung plain of Ixalan, where around this time the 4th Age draws near a close within the hollow core of the plane. Little is known of the Age, but it's common belief that dinosaurs ruled in abundance before falling to the civilizations that came after. The 4th people existed alongside these monstrous beasts. One among them knew of the twilight that descended and of the fate that awaited the closing of the Age. His name was Aclazotz, and through fear of death he endeavored to become immortal. Folklore holds that he performed dark and terrible rituals on his own people, sacrificed and fed off their energy until none lived save him. As Aclazotz accumulated power, he witnessed the dawning of a new age, and with it, new gods. Chimil, the inner sun, acted as progenitor of Ixalan's deep gods. As they came into divine being from her essence, Aclazotz seized an opportunity in which to secure his position. He killed the black-aligned deep god, drank of its essence, and ascended himself to the status of godhood, his body twisting into that of a massive bat. The advent of the 5th Age sees establishment of the Oltec civilization within the core. The 5th people revere Chimel, the inner sun, as source of their existence and bearer of light. As the Oltec advance in agriculture, architecture, and society, many among them are plagued by distant whispers promising life eternal and power beyond comprehension. Aclazotz, the great betrayer, speaks beyond the veil of life and death to the Oltec, enthralls them with honeyed words to prey on their fears and their avarice in hopes of using them to assert his power. At his behest, the Whispering War ravages across Ixalan's hollow interior, as Oltec fight ruthlessly against Aclazotz's cultists. The demon god is defeated, however, with the arrival of the deep gods who defend the 5th people. The bat is imprisoned, and the golden age of the sun follows. A millennia-long period of prosperity, peace, and expansion for the Oltec peoples, but nothing lasts forever. The Age of Sun is cast into darkness in roughly the 1900s AR with the arrival of the Fomori, a race of extraplanar giants with the capability to travel through the Blind Eternities aboard advanced navigational ships. The Fomori arrive in their shard ships, first requesting a peaceful settlement within the core, as they seek safety from an unknown threat. Relations quickly cool, however, and evolve into outright conquest and colonization, as the Fomori take by force control of the core and imprison Chimmel. Thus begins the Night War, a conflict between the Oltec and their increasingly tyrannical oppressors that lasts nearly 3 centuries and sees much bloodletting. Oltec resistance erupts in sporadic violence, but after a string of victories garners momentum, they grow more brazen in their strikes against the Fomori. Eventually, Ixalan's natives attack the heart of Fomori power and wrest Chimmel from her prison. Thus invigorated, the Inner Sun allows for the return of the Deep Gods, who fight alongside the Oltec in destroying all remnants of the invaders and their shard ships. The Night War ends in the 2200s AR, with profound consequences. First and most alarming is a return of the demon god Aklazats from his prison, and re-emergence of his cultists. Second is a great exodus from the core, as intrepid adventurers make their way through Ixalan's extensive network and discover the world that exists on the plane's outer surface. We leave Ixalan at a fulcrum in its history, the wheels of time and fortune turning drastically as events heat up amidst Dominaria's Ice Age. Urza Planeswalker, who has spent over 1,000 years shoring defenses and protecting the Shard of 12 Worlds against Phyrexian incursion, now prepares an offensive. He rescues the defective Newt and Phyrexian sleeper agent Zancha, who possesses a self-will beyond Yawgmoth's control, and enlists her aid in a direct assault on the Dark God's plane. Out of guilt and hatred, Urza launches an individual crusade against all of Phyrexia. His attack burns through several layers of the plane, but is stalled before it reaches Yawgmoth's core. Zancha uses the distraction to steal her Heartstone from Phyrexian vats, seen in the illustration and flavor text of Ill-Gotten Gains. Urza thought it a crusade. Zancha knew it was a robbery. The Planeswalker, meanwhile, is psychologically assailed by Yawgmoth himself, and the Dark God's touch brings madness to Urza's mind, shatters his spirit, and severely weakens him. This we see in the illustration of Corrupt. Even with power armor, with godlike abilities and a massive dragon engine, Urza fails in his conquest. He's forced to retreat to Serra's realm, an artificial plane of all-white mana ruled by the Planeswalker Serra, who administers Urza's convalescence. Although Serra heals his body, her skills are unable to mend Urza's madness, and his persona grows increasingly unstable. Shortly, Urza and Zancha are found by probing Phyrexian search parties, whose presence brings corrupting black mana to the plane. Over the next several centuries, Phyrexians work to corrupt and conquer Serra's realm. For now, Urza, Zancha, and Serra flee, and the Planeswalker entrusts stewardship of her plane, the Archangel Radiant. Meanwhile, on Dominaria, Teresier's Ice Age nations are built atop frozen ruins of their ancient progenitors. The proud peoples of Kjeldor fight constantly with the barbarian tribes of northern Balduvia. The Findhorn Forest shelters bands of elves and human rangers who worship the half-elf planeswalker Freyalise as a god and protector of the woods. In the frozen west, a powerful necromancer named Limdol gathers strength and builds an army under the Knights of Stromgall to assault Kjeldor and undermine the leadership of King Darian. Granted additional powers from the planeswalker Leshrac for his eternal servitude, Limdol's army of undead threatens all of Teresier if the factions don't unite. Joda the Eternal, Jaya Ballard, an impetuous pyromancer, and Freyalise all work to form a coalition between the Ice Age factions and confront Limdol. His army is defeated in battle, and the necromancer retreats in the waning days of this epoch, for great forces conspire to end the Ice Age and shatter the Shard of 12 Worlds. Ambitious planeswalkers, imprisoned for centuries, wish to escape the Shard by jumping to the